Black supremacy is Nattyisisyah. Join the website www.kingnobleuncensored.com. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to King Noble's channel at Lord Yeshua. And I want to talk today about astrology and how it can be used to divide us as a people and why it shouldn't be. If you haven't checked out my last video where I talked about the flat earth, to kind of give you an idea of where I'm going with this video, go and check that out right now, because I noticed that it's trending right now to be using the very things that are supposed to be bringing unity and harmony amongst us as a people to instead detract us and deter us from uniting and to, you know, basically create this harmony and just warring and fighting amongst each other. And astrology is another one of those things that we can add to the list, along with the flat earth and debates and, you know, all these other type of campaigns that are going on in the Black community. So astrology has popped up as one of these things. And when it comes to astrology, I find it so absurd that it is being used to disunite us and to, you know, cast our bonds asunder. Because if anybody truly understands astrology, you know, it is something that has, you know, been developed over time, you know, throughout many cultures. And, you know, that's the key. It's been developed through and by cultures. And if you think about it, these are not cultures that are trying to create systems of disunity. The whole idea of the study of astrology is something that is supposed to help us to know thyself, to love thyself, right? And to be thyself, to be the better self that you can be, right? The best that you can be. And to, you know, unite with others and create relationships and bonds and, you know, meaningful unions to help to grow the culture and to help to build the civilizations, you know, that we've built and that we are to build. So to use astrology as something, as a mode of a vehicle of Black hate and, you know, a path of self-destruction, it is you know, is counterproductive, right? You know, it's like most people, for one, if you look at astrology, they really only know about their astrological signs, or their, you know, only their signs, or, you know, they might know about some of their family member signs. They might know some signs that they get along with, and they might know some signs that they don't get along with. But if you're coming into astrology to, you know, from the angle, or, you know, with the mindset of using it on how you're going to specifically identify, you know, simply and only identify who you don't get along with, you know, without ever having met the person, without, you know, even interfacing with people, but you're going to use it just to demonize them. You know, that's something you might want to stay away from. You might not want to do that, right? Because you could be making a lot of, you know, you're going to make mistakes, you know, and of course, everybody's granted, you know, their free will to make as many mistakes as they please. But when it comes to the state and the condition that we're in, you know, it would help if we look at ways that we can find more common ground that we can work and build on, right? And astrology is not one of those things that was created, again, for us to be disunited, right? And that's what I've been seeing happening. Another thing when it comes to astrology is that if you are solely being guided by your astrological sign, and that is what is determining who you get along with, who you unite with, and that is what's determining, you know, who you favor, you know, who you open up yourself to, who you you basically hold hands and sing kumbaya, or you know, who you cast out. As far as being a black person of, you know, who considers themselves black or melanated, or to have melanin, or, you know, to be of this category where we might categorize ourselves, it's just not a good idea as far as nation building is concerned. And a lot of people don't like the word nation building. They don't like the term or the phrase black nation building. But those people, they fail to realize is that that's the name of the game. We're here to nation build. We are here to replicate and manifest ourselves, and, you know, reincarnate ourselves, to reinvent ourselves, recreate ourselves, and replicate, and over and over and over again, as many times as it need be, right? And that is what nation building is. You know, it's you're building a nation, whether you like it or not. A nation is being built, you know, here. You know, white supremacy, or what you call white supremacy, is a nation that is being built by whoever it is. You know, I'm not going to name names or whatever and go into all that, but they are building their nation, and a lot of people within it who some would consider to be in the matrix. You know, a lot of people in the matrix of white supremacy are by default building the nation of white supremacy. So if you are nation building, whether you know it or not, like it or not, and you are not conscious of what you're doing, and you're not actively doing things with intent, you know, you're gonna be nation building for whoever, whether it's your enemy or somebody that you favor. And if you in turn are nation building purely based on astrology, I think you're in big trouble, because, you know, now you nation building with your enemy, because your signs are compatible. You know, you nation building with people who, you know, are against you. You know, meanwhile, you're turning your back on your own black people who you're not compatible with, but who are facing the same struggles as you are, you know, and have the same enemy as you are. But because of a piece of paper that tells you that you are not compatible, because several books have been written that say you're not compatible with that person, you know, you use that to basically create this unity and to cast your own people aside in favor of, you know, a potential devil. It doesn't make sense. It's just not really, it's not sound science. It's not sound spirituality. It's not really sound reasoning. You know what I mean? To just jump up in the bed with, you know, with your enemy because your signs are compatible. And that's what can happen. Though that is a danger of astrology as far as black people are concerned and black nation building is concerned. You know, this happens a lot with spirituality in general. This happens a lot with a lot of these other practices and ways of life. You know, when you look at spirituality, veganism, and a lot of these other what some would call alternative lifestyles, you know, you could run into these problems. So it's like you always got to be black first. You got to be nation building. You got to be nation building first. You got to be pro, you know, self-conscious and really know thyself, right? And, you know, to take it even a step further, if you are going to be all about astrology and use astrology as, you know, the sole determining factor in what unites you and, you know, who you don't unite with, there is a greater astrological influence on us as, you know, human beings here on this planet. There is a greater influence, a greater astrological influence imprinted upon us at birth, because we're not just in the Milky Way galaxy. You know what I mean? The Milky Way galaxy is in an even greater galaxy, a greater universe with other star systems, other galactical systems that that imprints energies into our life. So you have to consider that also. Because if we're going to look at astrology, we got to look at the greater astrological systems and cosmologies that are at play. Not just, oh, I'm born under Leo and my Juno is in Aries, and, you know, my Pisces is in Venus or Mars, and, you know, our Mars is in my Venus or Pisces, or, you know, and so forth. There's a greater astrological influence upon our lives. So to just say, oh, you know, I don't get along with that person because that person is not compatible with me because, you know, they were born on this day at this time, you know, but I get along with Becky because, you know, me and Becky is compatible. We supposed to be, you know, we make a good couple, or, you know, we could work together very well, you know, and you know, some people will take it as far as to practice how to snag a Sagittarius based on, you know, based on their traits and characteristics, you know, and just use this type of thing to just manipulate relationships, right? It's like, it's again counterproductive to Black nation building to look at astrology from that perspective. If anything, astrology should be used to better our relationships, to create unions and bonds that will be productive and proactive, you know, because just because you don't get along with somebody, again, doesn't mean that you and that person can't work together to build, you know, to build a nation, to build a community, or to, you know, to build something of substance. It happens in America every day. It happens in corporate white supremacy every day. It happens in many businesses. It happens in many institutions. It happens in many social settings. It happens in many cultures, in many countries. You know, people are working together all day, every day, despite what their compatibilities are, despite what their, you know, how likely they are to unite, you know, be able to work together, you know, because if you understand, if you have a greater ambition than just getting along with people, you know, and of course getting along with people is like something, of course, I value and a lot of people value, but there's, you know, there's something greater than just getting along with people. You know, there are greater ambitions in that as far as we are concerned. You know, Black people getting along with each other in 2017 is a luxury. It's not a prerequisite to our success. You know, getting along with somebody is a prerequisite, right? So this astrological game that's being played, this astrological, you know, hustle, you know, it kind of needs to come to an end. It kind of needs to be rethought out. It needs to be reanalyzed. You know, it needs to be just squashed, really, because, you know, that's not, it wasn't created for us to be disunited as far as nation building is concerned, as far as culture is concerned, as far as freedom and liberation is concerned. Because what astrological sign is your enemy born in? You know what I mean? What astrological sign is the police kicking your door in born in? What astrological sign is, you know, the taxman born in? You know, nobody's asking the astrological sign of, you know, somebody going upside your head. Nobody's asking the astrological sign of, you know, people who are trolling and, you know, creating conspiracies and bombing other people in other countries. And, you know, who cares? Nobody gives a goddamn about astrological signs when it comes to that. But when it comes to Black people, you know, having different views and opinions, all of a sudden, your astrological sign is so goddamn important that it will cause somebody to just completely cast you aside and to turn their back on you and to call you out your name and to, you know, do all type of things to try to hurt you and harm you. And it's just ridiculous, because I find that a lot of people who are really deep into this astrology, some of them are the most mean, angry, facetious, malicious type of people to spreading lies. It's like, what's the astrological sign for that? Because I know it's not just Sagittarius, and I know it's not just Gemini, and I know it's not just Taurus. These people who are into this stuff, a lot of them, some of them, it really don't matter what the hell their astrological sign is, where their Venus or their Mars is, where they Pluto or their Jupiter, or, it doesn't matter. When people want to hate on you, they will use anything. And astrology just seems to be one of those new things that's going on around right now. So I want to say that definitely needs to come to an end, because it's like, you're not going to use astrology to really be like, the enemy, your enemy is not going to tell you their date of birth. It's not going to tell you what time they were born. Your enemy is not going to do that. So it's ridiculous. And if we are really talking about getting out the matrix, if we're really talking about getting out of white supremacy, if we're really talking about getting out of Babylon, we can't be using no Gregorian calendars. We can't be using the white man's dating system. We can't be using the white man's clock and hours and, times and minutes to determine our unity, to determine our freedom and our liberation, to determine our compatibility. So let's just dead that right now. And I want to give you one last example before I go to show how these things were really created to help us. If you look at Ayurvedic practices and a lot of ancient sacred texts or manuscripts and so forth, you have something that what is called the yoni type. Now, the yoni type is something that is used to identify how you would create good relationships with other people. So when women or men or these arranged marriages are being set up, these people are not going to these guides for advice on how to be disunited. They're going for guides on, how to make sure that they make a good union or a good marriage based on their yoni type, and based on the male's lignum type or phallus or penis, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? And it's like there's over 200 yoni types, and there's also phallus types. There's 3 main categories of yoni types, but none of this is used to be like, to hell with that person. F that nigga, you don't need that person. You know what I mean? It's used for the opposite. It's used to create happy unions and happy bonds. It's used as a advice, so this astrology system is quite similar. There are several different possible circumstances and outcomes where, your sign could be in, or it could be influenced by other things. But it wasn't meant to create unity, to create this unity, so you got to kind of look at it from not just a linear perspective, right? Which is why I mentioned the outer galactical thing. So join the website, www.kingnobleuncensored.com. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to King Noble's channel. Like this video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Go ahead. Speak what's on your mind. And if you can, if this video has helped you in any type of way, donate. You could email me. I'll drop my email in the description link. Email me if you can donate. And, check out King Noble's videos. So, peace. Join the website, www.kingnobleuncensored.com.